In the quiet town of Ilaro, life moved slowly. The people were simple, kind, and respectful. Every Sunday most of them went to the big white church at the center of town. The church bell rang every morning, and its sound brought peace to the hearts of many. The church was led by Pastor Bamidil, a man known for his calm voice, gentle smile, and kind heart. For years he had been like a father to the people of Ilaro. He helped the poor, prayed for the sick, and even gave food to hungry children after service. Everyone respected him, and his name carried trust. One bright Sunday morning, everything changed. A video started spreading on people's phones. It showed Pastor Bamidil sitting in a big house with rich men and politicians. In the video he was laughing, eating, and shaking hands with men who were known for stealing money from the people. The video spread fast, first from one phone then another, and soon the whole town had seen it. By the afternoon, people were gathered in small groups, whispering and arguing. Some looked sad, some looked angry. One man shouted, "You will stop going to church after watching this video. So this is what our pastor has been doing with our offerings." Kelechi, a young journalist who worked for the town's small media paper, sat quietly by the roadside. He had also seen the video, but something about it did not feel right. He had known Pastor Bamidil since he was a boy. The pastor had prayed for him when his mother was sick and had helped him go to school when his father lost his job. Kelechi could not believe that the same man would do such a thing. Still, the video looked real. The pastor was clearly in it, smiling and holding a drink. The background showed expensive cars and gold decorations. The voices in the video were loud and clear. People began to lose faith. Many said they would never return to the church again. Some tore down the church posters that hung on the walls of the town. Kelechi's best friend Ao came running to him and said, "Did you see it, Kelechi? Our pastor is not who we thought he was. This is proof." But Kelechi shook his head slowly. "Ao, I saw it, but I am not sure. Something feels strange. Pastor Bamidil is not that kind of man." Ao frowned. "You always defend people, my friend. The truth is clear. The video says it all." Kelechi stayed quiet. He did not want to argue. Deep inside, a small voice kept telling him there was more to the story. That night, while everyone in town talked about the video, Kelechi sat in his small room with his old laptop. He replayed the video again and again, looking closely at every second. He noticed small things. The lighting on Pastor Bamidil's face changed suddenly. The sound of laughter did not match the movement of his lips at one point. The background behind him seemed slightly blurry in some parts. Kelechi leaned forward, whispering to himself, "This looks edited." He decided to do more digging. The next day he went to the church, but it was quiet. Only a few people were there. Some walked out with tears in their eyes. Pastor Bamidil was not there either. Rumors spread that he had gone into hiding because of shame. Kelechi walked to the pastor's house, but the gate was locked. The old gardener, Baba Kunnal, was sitting outside, shaking his head. "My son," the old man said, "the world is cruel. A man can do good all his life, but one lie can destroy him in a day." Kelechi nodded. "Did you see the video, Baba?" "I did," Baba Kunnal replied, "but I have known this man for 20 years. He feeds me and my grandchildren. I do not believe what people say." That night, Kelechi couldn't sleep. The thought of the pastor's sad face haunted him. He decided to investigate where the video came from. He called a few of his journalist friends in nearby towns. One of them, Funk, told him she had seen the same video on a small gossip page on social media a few days before it went viral. "Check who posted it first," she said. "You might find something." Kelechi thanked her and began his search. After hours of scrolling and tracing, he found that the first upload came from an anonymous account with no profile picture, no followers, and only one post. The video was strange. The next day he went to see Mama Aduk, a wise old woman in town known for her gentle words and sharp mind. She sold vegetables near the church. When he greeted her and told her about his doubts, she smiled softly and said, "My son, not everything that shines is gold. Sometimes lies wear a holy face. If your heart says something is wrong, then keep digging. The truth hides under the dust of noise." Kelechi thanked her. Her words gave him strength. He returned home and started writing down everything he had found: the strange edits, the anonymous account, and the sudden speed at which the video spread. Meanwhile, the town was still angry. Many called the pastor a liar. Children teased each other, saying, "Your pastor eats with thieves." Some people even stopped praying. The once peaceful town of Ilaro now felt divided. Days passed, but Kelechi did not give up. He searched the video again and noticed something new. In the reflection of a mirror behind Pastor Bamidil, he saw the faint image of another man holding a camera. But that man's face was hidden. Kelechi paused the video and zoomed in. The shape of the man's clothes looked familiar. He remembered seeing a pastor from another church in town, Pastor Duro, wearing that same patterned shirt at a town event. His heart began to race. Could Pastor Duro have something to do with this? He was known to envy Pastor Bamadiel's large following. Kelechi made a note and promised to find out. By now, his phone was full of messages from friends telling him to stop wasting his time. But he refused. He believed that truth was worth fighting for. Late one night, while reviewing the video frame by frame, his laptop froze for a second and then showed an error. But when it came back, Kelechi saw something shocking. A small glitch where two different clips overlapped. That was it. The video was fake. Someone had edited parts together to make it look real. Kelechi leaned back in his chair and smiled weakly. So I was right, he whispered. But he knew this was only the beginning. While the town slept, Kelechi wrote in his notebook, "They all believe the video, but I will find the truth and show it." He did not know that this choice would soon change everything, not just for him but for the entire town of Ilaro. The next morning, Ilaro town felt different. The laughter that once filled the streets had turned into whispers. People no longer greeted one another with joy. Instead, they stood in small groups talking about the same thing, the video. The white church, which had always been full of songs and prayers, was now silent. Even the church bell that usually rang at dawn stayed quiet. Kelechi walked down the narrow street with his notebook under his arm. He could feel the tension in the air. Market women who used to sing while selling tomatoes now shook their heads and said, "Even pastors are the same." A few young men sat by the roadside arguing. One said, "He fooled us all. He said we should give offerings to help the poor, but look how he eats with the rich." Another replied, "I knew it. I never trusted these church people." Kelechi listened but didn't speak. He knew that once people lose faith they speak from pain. He wanted to believe that Pastor Bamadiel was innocent, but the doubts around him were heavy. Even his own heart began to question. When he reached his office, a small room beside a printing shop, his friend Ao was waiting. Ao looked upset. "You still don't believe the video?" he asked. "Everyone has seen it, Kelechi. It's real." Kelechi sat down quietly. "I'm not saying it's fake, but something feels wrong. The pastor I know wouldn't do that." Ao sighed and shook his head. "You always think people are better than they are. Maybe you just don't want to see the truth." Kelechi didn't reply. He turned on his old computer and opened the video again. He watched carefully. The laughter sounded strange, almost too loud. He replayed the clip, slowing it down. He noticed how the background blurred when the pastor lifted his glass. Then suddenly, the light on his face changed as if he had moved rooms in a second. He paused the video and rubbed his chin. "This doesn't look right," he murmured. "Why would the light change like that?" At that moment, the office door creaked open. It was Mama Aduk, the kind vegetable seller from the market. She was an old woman with tired but wise eyes. She had heard Kelechi was looking into the video. "My son," she said softly, placing her basket on the table, "you're still thinking about that video, eh?" "Yes, Mama," Kelechi answered. "I can't stop thinking about it. Everyone believes it's real, but something in me says no." Mama Aduk sat down slowly on the wooden chair. "My son, not everything that shines is gold. Sometimes lies dress like truth. You see, people love to believe bad things because bad news travels faster than good news." Kelechi listened carefully. Her voice was calm and full of wisdom. She continued, "When something shocks the heart, people stop thinking. They just follow what others say. But if your heart is not at peace, then keep searching. The truth will show itself to a patient man." Kelechi smiled weakly. "Thank you, Mama. You always know the right words." She nodded. "Don't thank me yet, my son. Just be careful. Truth is powerful, but it can also make enemies." After she left, Kelechi sat in silence. He looked at the old wall clock ticking slowly. He knew she was right. People were so busy judging that no one wanted to find the truth. That evening he walked to the church. The big wooden doors were closed. The wind blew gently through the trees. He saw a few people standing nearby, whispering again. When he walked closer, they stopped talking and looked away. He could feel their judgment in the air. He sat on the church steps and thought about everything that had happened. The memory of Pastor Bamadiel preaching about forgiveness and honesty came to his mind. He remembered how the pastor had visited the sick and shared his own food with beggars. Could that same man really be laughing with thieves? Just then a little girl passed by holding a small Bible. Kelechi recognized her. It was Ifyananya, one of the children Pastor Bamadiel used to teach on Sundays. She stopped when she saw him and said, "Uncle Kelechi, why is everyone angry with Pastor?" Kelechi smiled sadly. Some people saw a video of him, my dear. They think he did something bad. But Pastor is good, the girl said quickly. He gave my brother medicine when he was sick. Why do they hate him now? Kelechi didn't know what to say. The girl's innocence reminded him why he needed to keep searching. Sometimes people believe lies, he said softly. But don't worry if Yananya. The truth never hides forever. That night, when Kelechi got home, the streets were dark. The generator lights flickered across the neighborhood. He sat by his small desk, opened his laptop and started watching the video again. This time he watched it without sound, focusing only on the pictures. He noticed tiny mistakes. The pastor's hand holding a cup, then in the next second the cup disappeared. His head tilted in one frame, then straightened suddenly without movement. He paused the video again. This is wrong, he whispered. It's edited. He remembered what Mama Aduk said, not everything that shines is gold. He realized that people were too quick to judge because they trusted what they saw on their screens more than what they knew in their hearts. As he continued to watch, he saw something else. The shadow of another man moved behind the camera in one scene. That meant someone was there, recording. But who? Kelechi wrote notes in his book. Edited cuts, light changes, background blur, unknown shadow. Then he added a line at the bottom, find the source. His room was silent except for the sound of crickets outside. He leaned back on his chair and thought of how quickly the town had changed. Just 2 days ago, everyone had trusted the pastor. Now they hated him. It showed how fragile faith could be when built on emotion instead of truth. Kelechi looked out of the window. The moon was high and bright. He whispered to himself, I will find out who made this video. I owe it to him. He knew it wouldn't be easy. The person behind the video had planned everything carefully. But he also knew something powerful. Lies might spread fast, but truth always catches up, no matter how long it takes. He turned off his laptop and lay on his bed. Sleep didn't come easily. He kept thinking about the faces of people in the town, the ones who had once smiled every Sunday morning. He thought of the empty church benches, the angry words, and the silence that had replaced the songs of faith. He made up his mind. The next day he would begin to trace where the video came from. He would not stop until he knew who was behind it. Before he closed his eyes, he remembered Mama Aduk's words again, soft and calm in his mind, sometimes lies wear the face of light. He smiled faintly. Yes, he whispered to himself, but light always reveals the lie. And with that quiet thought, Kelechi finally fell asleep, ready to begin the search for truth when the sun rose again. The next morning, Kelechi woke up with one thought in his mind. He had to find out who made the fake video. The air in Ilaro was warm and quiet, but inside him was a storm. He got dressed quickly, grabbed his small camera, notebook and phone and set out for the day. He started by visiting a small computer shop near the main road. The owner, Musa, was known for fixing phones and editing videos for people in the town. Kelechi greeted him with a smile. Musa, good morning, he said. Ah, Kelechi. Journalist man, what brings you here so early? Musa asked, smiling. Kelechi leaned closer and spoke softly. You've seen that video about Pastor Bamadil, right? Musa nodded quickly. Who hasn't? The whole town is talking about it. I need your help, Kelechi continued. I think the video is edited. Can you check it for me? Musa's face changed. He looked around and then whispered, You want me to check that video? My brother, that's risky. People are angry about it. Kelechi smiled gently. I know, but I just want the truth. That's all. After a moment of silence, Musa sighed and said, All right. Leave it with me. Come back tomorrow. Kelechi thanked him and walked out. The sun was already high and the streets were busy again. He noticed how people still looked suspiciously at the church. Even children no longer played near it. It hurt him to see how one lie could destroy years of trust. That night, he sat on his bed thinking about what might happen if the truth came out. He knew it wouldn't be easy. Whoever made that video had power. But he also knew he couldn't stop now. The next day he returned to Musa's shop. Musa had dark circles under his eyes. It was clear he had stayed up all night working. When he saw Kelechi, he pulled him inside quickly and closed the door. My brother, he said in a low voice, you were right. The video was edited. I checked every frame. Someone cut and joined different parts together. The sound was mixed too. It's fake. Kelechi's eyes widened. Can you show me? Musa nodded and played the video slowly. Look here, he said, pointing to the screen. You see that? The background shifts. And this part, the voice here was added from another clip. Kelechi watched in shock. So it's true. Someone wanted to destroy him. Musa nodded. But be careful, Kelechi. Whoever made this had money. Look, the software used is expensive. Only professionals can do this kind of job. Kelechi thanked Musa deeply and left, his mind full of thoughts. He had proof now but not enough. He needed to know who had ordered the fake video. He began asking quiet questions around town, visiting small video editors, internet cafes and print shops. Most people said they didn't know anything, but one man, a young video editor named Chidi, looked nervous when Kelechi mentioned the viral clip. Kelechi noticed and said gently, "I'm not here to cause trouble, my friend. I just want the truth." Chidi looked away, his fingers tapping the table. "You should not ask too much about that video," he whispered. "It was not meant to reach everyone." Kelechi leaned forward. "Who paid you to make it, Chidi?" The young man shook his head. "I can't say. I need that job. If I talk they might hurt me." Kelechi paused. "If you tell me I will protect you. I'm a journalist. The truth is the only thing I care about." There was a long silence. Then Chidi sighed heavily. "It was Pastor Duro," he whispered. "He came with 2 men. He gave me a flash drive with some clips and told me to edit them to make Pastor Bamidil look corrupt. He said it was for church competition. He even paid me half in cash." Kelechi sat back, stunned. Pastor Duro was a rival pastor from another church in town. He had always envied how full Pastor Bamidil's church was. Many people had moved from his church to attend Bamidil's because they loved his humble nature. "Do you still have the files?" Kelechi asked quickly. Chidi nodded slowly. "Yes, I kept copies just in case. I also have the receipt for the payment. But please, Kelechi, don't tell anyone it came from me." "I promise," Kelechi said firmly. "You did the right thing by telling me." Chidi handed him a small flash drive and a piece of paper. Kelechi looked at it and saw the name, Duro Ministries, written next to the payment. That was all he needed. When he left the shop, his heart was beating fast. He knew he had uncovered something dangerous. He looked over his shoulder several times as he walked home. The streets felt longer and quieter than usual. He could almost feel eyes watching him. That night he locked his doors and sat by his desk. He plugged the flash drive into his laptop. There he saw the original clips, short recordings of Pastor Bamidil greeting people after service, and others where he was simply talking about kindness. Someone had taken those innocent clips and added new sound and fake laughter, then joined them with another video of corrupt politicians. Kelechi felt both angry and relieved. Angry because someone had done something so evil, and relieved because he finally had proof that Pastor Bamidil was innocent. He began writing everything down carefully, the names, the times, and the evidence. He even recorded a video of his own, explaining how the fake clip was made. As he worked, he heard a knock on the door. He froze. It was late, too late for visitors. The knock came again, louder. "Kelechi," a voice called softly, "It's me, Musa." He opened the door a little and saw Musa standing there, sweating and looking afraid. "Someone came to my shop," Musa whispered. "They were asking if anyone had been checking the pastor's video. I told them nothing, but be careful. I think they're watching you." Kelechi's stomach tightened. He closed the door behind Musa and locked it again. "Thank you, my friend. I'll be careful." When Musa left, Kelechi sat back at his desk. He stared at the screen for a long time, thinking. He knew what he had to do next. He had to make the truth public. But he also knew the people who created the fake video would not stay quiet. He took a deep breath and said softly to himself, "Truth must win no matter what." He packed the flash drive, the receipts, and his notes into a small bag. Then he backed up the files on his cloud storage just in case something happened to him. As the night grew darker, he knelt by his bed and prayed, "God, give me courage. Let the truth come to light." When he finished, he looked out of the window. The moon was shining over the quiet roofs of Ilaro. He could hear distant voices from the market and the sound of night insects. Somewhere inside he felt peace. He knew danger was near, but he also knew that lies could never live forever. Someone had to stand for truth, and if no one else would, then he would. Kelechi turned off the light and lay down, holding his notebook close to his chest. Tomorrow he would start writing the story that could change everything. A story that would clear an innocent man's name and expose the one who had tried to destroy him. The next morning the sun rose over Ilaro with a gentle orange glow, but Kelechi's heart was heavy. He hadn't slept all night. The files, the receipts, and the truth he now carried in his bag felt heavier than any load he had ever lifted. He sat by the window watching the town slowly wake up. Children walking to school, women sweeping their compounds, and traders setting up their stalls. Life looked normal, but he knew that soon everything was going to change. He took a deep breath and opened his laptop. The video he had prepared the night before was ready. In it, he explained how the viral video of Pastor Bamidil had been edited. He showed the original clips, the fake sound effects, and the receipts from Pastor Duro's payment. He didn't use harsh words. He just told the truth, calm and clear. Before uploading it, he whispered, "God, this is for the truth. Let people see." Then he clicked post. Within minutes, his phone started buzzing. At first, only a few people watched it. But soon, it spread across Ilaro like fire on dry grass. By afternoon, everyone was talking about it. The same people who had once said, "You'll stop going to church after watching this," were now saying, "Did you see Kelechi's video? It shows everything." Crowds gathered at phone shops watching the video on small screens. The truth was out. People gasped when they saw how Pastor Duro had planned it all. Some covered their mouths in shock. Others shook their heads in shame. At the town square, men and women argued loudly. "So all this time, Pastor Bamidil was innocent?" one woman cried. Another man said, "We almost destroyed a good man because of a lie." Meanwhile, Kelechi sat quietly in his office, reading the hundreds of messages coming in. Some people thanked him, others apologized for not believing the truth sooner. He smiled weakly. He wasn't doing it for fame. He just wanted peace to return to his town. By evening, the news reached Pastor Duro. When he saw the video, his face turned pale. He quickly called his assistants, trying to deny everything. "It's all fake," he shouted. That journalist made it up to protect Bamidil. But the people had seen too much. Kelechi's video showed the receipts, the names, the editing marks, everything. Soon, reporters from nearby towns came to Ilaro to cover the story. They wanted to interview Kelechi, but he stayed humble. "It's not about me," he told them softly. "It's about truth. Lies can destroy lives. We must be careful what we believe." That night, the streets were filled with noise again, but this time it wasn't anger, it was relief. People were laughing and talking about how they had been fooled. "We need to apologize to Pastor Bamidil," said one man. "We judged him too fast." At the same time, in a quiet house on the edge of town, Pastor Bamidil knelt in prayer. He had seen Kelechi's video too. Tears rolled down his face, not of sadness but of peace. His wife, Mama Bamidil, stood beside him with her hands shaking. "God has answered," she whispered. "The truth is out." The next morning, Pastor Bamidil went to the church for the first time in weeks. When he arrived, he was surprised to see people already there waiting for him. Some of them were crying. They ran up to him, begging for forgiveness. "Pastor, we are sorry," one man said. "We believed the lies." "Yes, Pastor," another woman added. "We turned our backs on you. Please forgive us." The pastor smiled softly and said, "My children, I forgive you all. We are human. But let this be a lesson: never believe everything you see or hear. Always seek the truth." He then called Kelechi forward. The young journalist was shy, but the crowd clapped loudly when they saw him. Pastor Bamidil took his hand and said, "This young man stood for the truth when everyone else turned away. God used him to bring light back to this town." Kelechi felt tears in his eyes. He didn't know what to say. The pastor placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "You did not defend me for reward or praise. You did it because you love truth. And that, my son, is real faith." The crowd cheered, some lifting their hands to the sky. For the first time in weeks, there was hope again in Ilaro. The songs returned and the sound of joy filled the air. But not everyone was happy. Pastor Duro stayed in his house, refusing to come out. People went to his church demanding answers. When they asked if he had done it, he tried to lie again, but Kelechi's evidence was too strong. The video showed his name, his voice, and the messages he had sent to Chidi, the video editor. Finally, he broke down and confessed. "I was jealous," he said, trembling. "His church was growing and mine was empty. I thought if I brought him down, people would come back to me. I didn't know it would go this far." The people were angry, but Pastor Bamidil stopped them from seeking revenge. He said gently, "Let him face his conscience. Let him learn that truth always wins even when it takes time." That night, Kelechi returned home feeling light. He sat by the window again watching the stars. His phone kept buzzing with messages, some from strangers, others from people he knew. One message caught his eye. It was from Mama Aduk. It read, "My son, you see now? I told you that truth hides under the dust of lies. You have brushed off that dust. Well done." Kelechi smiled and replied, "Thank you, Mama. Your words gave me strength." He closed his phone and looked at the night sky. The moon was bright, shining peacefully over Ilaro. The streets were calm again, and the church bells had begun to ring once more. The next day the people of Ilaro came together to rebuild what had been broken. They cleaned the church, repainted the walls and replaced the broken benches. Some even volunteered to help the poor, just as Pastor Bamadiel always taught them to do. When Sunday arrived, the church was full again. People sang louder than ever, their voices full of joy and gratitude. During the service, Pastor Bamadiel said, "My people, what happened to us was painful, but it opened our eyes. Faith is not about believing every voice, it is about holding on to truth even when the world shakes." He looked at Kelechi in the crowd and smiled. Kelechi smiled back. He felt proud, but more than that he felt peace. He had learned something too, that truth may be slow but it never dies. As the choir sang and children danced in front of the altar, the town of Ilaro found its light again. The people had seen what lies could do, and they had seen what courage and honesty could heal. That evening, Kelechi walked through the market. People waved and greeted him with warm smiles. "Journalist of truth," one man called out jokingly. Kelechi laughed. "No, just a man who followed his heart," he replied. And as the sun set behind the hills, he whispered to himself, "The truth is stronger than fear. It may hide for a while, but it always finds a way to shine." In that moment he knew his journey was not just about one pastor or one video. It was about faith. Faith in what is right, faith in what is real, and faith that even in a world full of lies, the truth will always rise again. Months had passed since the storm that almost tore Ilaro apart. The air in the town now felt calmer, lighter, as if the dust of confusion had finally settled. People went about their daily lives again, but something deep had changed in their hearts. They had seen what lies could do, how easily a rumor could spread and how quickly faith could fall when tested. But now they also understood the power of truth and forgiveness. Pastor Bamadiel had forgiven everyone, including Pastor Duro, who had since left the town quietly. Many people thought Bamadiel would rebuild his church to make it grander than before, but instead he surprised them all. One sunny morning he stood in front of the old church building with a smile and said, "This house will now serve more than just prayers. It will feed the hungry, teach the children and help those in need. Faith should live in our actions, not only in our words." The people were silent for a moment, and then they began to clap. They didn't expect such kindness after everything he had suffered. Some even cried as they helped him move benches and set up tables. That day the Church of Ilaro became a community center, a place for everyone, rich or poor, old or young. Kelechi watched all this with quiet pride. He stood under a mango tree near the gate, smiling as children ran in and out of the yard. He had seen the town change before his very eyes. He remembered the days of anger and gossip, when people shouted and pointed fingers. Now those same people were carrying food baskets and helping paint the walls. Mama Aduk came to stand beside him, holding a walking stick. She looked at him with warm eyes and said, "My son, this is what truth does. It plants good seeds where lies once grew." Kelechi nodded and said softly, "You were right, Mama. The truth might come late, but when it comes, it heals everything." Inside the new community center, Pastor Bamadiel was busy organizing a food drive. Farmers brought yams, cassava and plantains. Traders brought old clothes and kitchen tools. Even children brought books and toys. Everyone wanted to give something. During one of the meetings, Pastor Bamadiel stood before the crowd and said, "My people, that video once made many of you lose faith. But listen carefully, if one video can shake your faith, then your faith was never strong. True faith lives in your heart, not on a screen." The hall went quiet. Everyone listened. His words touched them deeply. He wasn't angry or proud, he was calm and gentle. He spoke like a father teaching his children a simple truth. He continued, "When you believe everything you see without seeking truth, you give your heart to lies. But when you live your faith through kindness and honesty, no lie can destroy it." People nodded, some wiping tears from their eyes. They knew he was right. They had been quick to judge, quick to share gossip, but slow to seek the truth. Now they understood. After the meeting, children gathered around Kelechi, asking him questions about his work. "Uncle, are you still making videos?" one boy asked. Kelechi smiled. "Yes, but this time I want to make videos that build people's faith, not break it." The children laughed and clapped. They liked Kelechi. To them he wasn't just a journalist, he was a hero who saved their town from shame. Weeks later, Kelechi helped start a small media club at the community center. He taught young people how to check facts, how to tell true stories, and how to use the internet wisely. "The world is full of noise," he told them. "Your job is to find the truth inside the noise." Every evening when the sun began to set, the town square near the community center was full of life. Women sold snacks, children played football, and men discussed farming and news. The once divided town now felt united again. One evening, Pastor Bamadiel sat outside under the big neem tree. Kelechi joined him with 2 cups of tea. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the laughter around them. Finally, the pastor said, "Kelechi, do you know what I learned from all this?" Kelechi shook his head. "Tell me, pastor." The old man smiled. "I learned that faith is like a candle. It doesn't die because of the wind, it dies when we stop protecting it. Lies are like wind, but truth is like the hand that shields the flame." Kelechi nodded slowly, thinking deeply about the words. "And what about those who still doubt?" he asked. Pastor Bamadiel looked at the sky. "Let them doubt. Doubt is not the enemy of faith, fear is. As long as we keep love and truth in our hearts, faith will always find its way back." The next Sunday, instead of a sermon, the pastor invited people to share their own lessons. One by one they stood up and spoke. "I learned not to believe everything I see online," said a young trader. "I learned to forgive before I ask for forgiveness," said another. "I learned that one lie can destroy many lives," whispered an old man. When it was Kelechi's turn, he stood up and said, "I learned that the truth is not loud, but it lasts longer than any lie." The crowd clapped warmly. From that day, people in Ilaro changed how they lived. They stopped spreading rumors so easily. They started checking facts, helping one another, and showing love instead of judgment. The community center became the heart of the town. Children learned there, old people found care, and young ones found purpose. Months later, the story of Ilaro spread to nearby villages. People came to see the place that had once been broken by lies but rebuilt by truth. They called it the House of Faith. One day, a group of visitors asked Pastor Bamadiel, "Why didn't you rebuild your church?" He smiled gently and said, "Because the church was never the building. It was always the people. And now they have found faith not just in words but in action." Kelechi stood nearby, smiling proudly. He had seen the journey from darkness to light, from doubt to truth. His small act of courage had changed everything. As the sun set, he looked around, at the laughing children, at Mama Aduk teaching women how to read, at the farmers sharing food, and he felt peace in his heart. He realized that truth was not just about proving someone right or wrong, it was about helping people grow, heal, and learn. Later that evening he wrote in his notebook, "Faith is not what we see on a screen. It is what we do when no one is watching. It is kindness, honesty, and courage, the quiet strength that keeps hope alive." He closed the notebook, placed it on the table, and walked outside. The night air was cool, filled with the sound of distant laughter and soft drums. The stars above Ilaro shone brighter than ever, as if blessing the town that had learned its greatest lesson, that true faith is not shaken by lies, and truth, no matter how small, will always rise again.